Alright. Yo, YouTubers. Keep forgetting me. I've got a camera up there. Look straight at the camera. Yo, YouTubers. This is a kind of upload test. I've only just worked out a way of using I messed up the sound card built into this brand new laptop I've got, right? Well, second hand actually, but I got it quite cheap, right? And by the way, I'm just going to have a drink while I do this speech, record this speech, attempt to record this speech. The point is I'm trying to find out how long it records for and everything. I'm recording straight onto a laptop without using my camera this time, right? Look, I cut my hair by accident, by the way, guys. I was meant to be cutting a little bit off in the shower and I virtually chopped it all off. Like, I was like, oh shit, I've got to start again. But anyway, I'm using my Zoom studio here, which is just off the picture. You can just see the corner of it, and it's got built-in microphones. It's my sound card, this Zoom thing. And I've got my studio set up here and everything like. Well, basically, you can see me flat's a little bit topsy-turvy because I've been decorating. You see me depressing wallpaper's gone. I'll let you see all those lovely white walls. Isn't that great? Hey, I've been busy actually decorating, stripping wallpaper and painting the walls. So I've got a nice white room around me now for a change, instead of that depressing smacky brown colour on the walls that I used to have. And this is a visual test basically. I'm testing the computer and my microphones, built-in microphones for the sound levels, and then basically I'll do a little speech and then upload it to YouTube straight from the laptop without any rigmarole with Sony Vegas and a camera and all that stuff, and then see how long it takes to upload, right? So I know it's been a while, guys, putting speeches up and stuff, but I've been quite busy recently. Like I say, I've been decorating. I've been working out a brand new Steinberg setup. When I bought this laptop, I had to put a new Steinberg Cubase thing into it and upgrade it and everything and make sure everything worked and all me all my musical instruments worked okay and that like. It's great, so I'm getting ready for some brand new music, guys, which will be coming out soon. Might be making an album or something to sell, hopefully, I don't know. In the meantime, I'm going to pour myself a pint of beer, so I'll get my truth drug in my system and that. Bruce drinks. Halston pills. It's the only way. Anyway, that was a little advert there. If Halston Pills want to get back to me and sponsor me channel or something, I don't monetize any of my videos, guys, because I don't want adverts popping up. But if any advertisers out there want to sponsor me, or maybe I'll wear a t-shirt or something, or do something like this. So yeah, just feel like I've got to wind down, like. Okay. Sorry for the wait, guys. Like I say, I'm going to take my time on this because I want I just want to see how the video records and if my built-in memory card and everything works okay. Hey! Yeah, I'm just testing the levels there. I've got this weird, awkward vibe going on. I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm holding the glass at an angle. I'm shaking. I'm going to spill it. I got the shakes. Right. Halston pills. As the alcohol kicks in, my truth drug effect starts working, and I kind of make my mind up about what I'm going to talk about for this speech. without a script or without any details written down. I'm just hoping that, you know, when I post this, the levels will be okay. You might have to put the volumes up on your, you know, on your phones or whatever, really high or whatever. But yeah, I've been busy recently. As you know, I went to the Isle of Man recently this summer for the TT, so I've got tons of footage and film to assemble. I need some kind of Sony Vegas thing on this new laptop. And last week, well, up to a few days ago, went to Wales and went up Snowdon for the second time in my life. My first ascent up Snowdon is on my channel. If you want to check out my videos and see where it is somewhere, it's quite interesting because I nearly died that day of sunstroke and exhaustion. You know, carrying my backpack with me tent and my sleeping bag and my mattress and everything right up the mountain, you know, with me. Like, it's like, duh, you know, you don't walk up snow and carrying your tent and your sleeping bag, do you? You make sure you leave it at a campsite somewhere, you know, but duh. But this time I had a successful ascent. I went up the Lamberis path this time anyway, and I've captured it all on film, so I'll be uploading that very soon, as soon as I can get it together, you know. And, what else? Yeah, I've been recording a lot of music, doing some tunes and things, just testing out my studio abilities and, you know, the Steinberg functions and so forth. And I thought, to launch this machine, some microphone capabilities and this computer's visual capabilities, I'll do a speech. I kind of, I don't know, keep it short if I possibly can, you know what I'm like once I start waffling, like. But I know me subbers out there, me friends and subbers, you all, going by the views on the targeted individual videos and things like that, you definitely prefer me speaking. I don't know whether you just don't like me music or whatever, or it's not to your tastes and that kind of stuff, but I should be getting millions of views on them tunes by now, guys, you know what I mean? You should be making me rich by now, come on. Watch each video 50 times each and I'll start getting views, won't I? Wait, I'm only joking. It's me hair like that. Look at that, I chopped it all off by accident in the shower. Like. But anyhow, this speech, right guys, is going to be about what I call the Illuminati triangle. Because I suppose I can keep it short. It's just a you know, a couple of facts, just so I can test the recording capabilities and the upload speeds and so forth. But the speech is going to be called the Illuminati triangle and how it works basically. And what we've got is, you know, there hasn't been much on Illuminati stuff on my channel recently or anything like that because, you know, so many people are doing that, aren't they, you know, but I wouldn't really call them Illuminati, guys. I'd just call the Illuminati one branch of that thing, you know what I mean? It's for Freemasonry, they're all secret societies, the gentlemen's clubs and secret societies, Club of Rome, all those high-end sort of Freemasonic cliques. They all come under the same category as the Illuminati. It's not just the Illuminati out there, guys. There's a lot more to it than meets the eye, right? And I just want to focus on what I call the triangle at the moment. And we all know that the famed symbol of the Illuminati is the all-seeing eye and the little triangle. And the reason that is what the whole point is there's always, whenever there's an activity or a war or something, a big deal where there's going to be blood sacrifice, lots of money spent, you know, loads of people killed, lots of people put into poverty, things like what happened in Syria recently, those kind of things, right? There's always a triangle of activity. The culprits work in a triangle. And all three sides of that triangle try their best to stay elusive so that they're not kind of recognised as being actually intentionally doing these things. The media tries to make it look like it's just happened by chance or it's an event that's just occurred in the world because of circumstances. Whereas we all know if we're actually smart enough, we know that, you know, for example, in Desert Storm and, you know, the shock and awe campaigns in Iraq and things. It was all about getting oil. That's the whole point of them things, was to like oil fields, mineral rich lands, that kind of stuff. And obviously it's all linked. You see that the whole earth to the secret society is all linked up. It's all constructed in triangles, basically. If you imagine a whole globe completely made of triangles instead of squares or whatever to make the globe. Imagine it all linked up, including the oceans, including where the seas are and everything, like just this, like if you imagine a grid around the planet and it's all triangles until the whole thing's completely covered. That's kind of how they work. And it, like in politics, for example, right guys, in politics, in this country, in America, you've got the, whatever they are, the Confederates or whatever, the different divides in politics. Here in Britain, right, we've got like Labour and Conservative are the two main parties that usually win the elections. And, it's like a juggling match, from Tony Blair to David Cameron, kind of juggling thing in our recent years, where it's either one or the other of them two top parties, right? But what do you think the third side is, what I'm talking about, to make the triangle? You see, because when we watch the TV, we see the two sides going on at each other in the House of Commons or whatever, like, or vote Labour, vote Conservative, putting their adverts out or whatever. The third part of the triangle is not the other parties, such as the Liberals and so on, because there can only one party can win the election, can't they? Do you know what I mean? The two main parts of the triangle are the two major parties in competition. The third part of the triangle, right, which no one notices, is the Queen, or the actual royal family, that because it's Her Majesty's government whoever wins the election. It's not our government, it's not the people's government and all that. It's Her Majesty's government, and they're not supposed to be involved in the politics, but of course they're involved in the politics. They'd intervene and say, like bedroom tax, for example, is a bit of a mistake in my opinion. Why didn't the Queen step forward and say, stop this bedroom tax, you're wrong there, Mr. Cameron, you want to change that, or I'll give the power to the other party if you don't mind. No, they carry on that juggling match between the two, whoever the main corners of the triangle are. And the third part of that triangle is the Queen, and you know what I mean, because she doesn't care either way who wins the election. The same wars are going to occur, the same conflicts are going to occur, the same moves have already been predetermined by the leading secret societies, which is we're all calling the Illuminati. But basically it's all about this, guys. If I can just show you something, it's only I've showed this on one of my videos on my old thing. This is a synthetic diamond, by the way. You see that? In that construction, in that shape of them diamonds, when they cut them in such a way. Remember, this is only synthetic, guys. It cost me £5 or something. But in it, around the edge of it, around that sort of perimeter of the cut, there's little triangles, you see, and that's how they all communicate together. And remember, in the crown jewels of every country that's got an imperialist background, there's always a big, gigantic diamond that none of us will ever be able to afford, that they keep hold of behind lock and key. And that's where they keep the invisible zone. It's the clear, flawless realm of the diamond that is priceless, that we can't go out and buy ourselves. We can't go, you don't go on the beach and find these things, you know what I mean? They're already all been dug up, haven't they, all the big ones and that, like. So between themselves, they stay elusive and invisible in the diamonds, right? And I'm going to be doing a speech after this, and in maybe a couple of days, about racialism and fascism and things like, and the way that's linked to precious stones as well, or the other examples, all like linked to precious stones, basically, because they're just ridiculously priced for starters, aren't they, right? But anyway, here's a good example of I thought, let's bring up the subject matter for me. from your suburbs to kind of get things they might not know about the Illuminati or those kinds of people. And the triangle, one major point in history, right, a huge turning point was the Battle of Waterloo, right guys? Now, the triangle in that case, right, was, I mean this is all to do with Freemasonry. When you remember, the guys who were all on foot carrying guns and marching, whether for France, for England, when on the battle, on that battlefield in Waterloo, right, the guys who are all getting killed and firing bullets at each other are all just soldiers, right? And the Illuminati and all them secret societies and the royal families and the royal houses and so forth, I think it was King George IV was running England when Waterloo was going on during the Napoleonic War, right? Napoleon was a self-proclaimed emperor. Remember, Napoleon called himself Emperor Napoleon, right? Napoleon Bonaparte. He was a Freemason, right? The Duke of Wellington was the leader of the English folks, right? He's he's like, from an English perspective, he's the hero, he won the Battle of Waterloo for us, right? He was a Freemason, you know what I mean? There's paintings of him in Buckingham Palace and stuff, standing dandy in his uniform and that, like, right? So, at first argument straight away, I said, hang on, why are these guys all carrying guns on a battlefield go, and then shooting each other, dying and that, like, when both Napoleon Bonaparte and the Duke of Wellington, they're both Freemasons, Illuminati, right? Who's the third part in the triangle when it comes to the Napoleonic Wars? Is Prussia, right? And Prussia, back in them days, 1815 was the year of the Battle of Waterloo, right? Prussia, their leader in battle was General Blucher, who was also a Freemason, but he was a Prussian Freemason, right? So what's the possibility, guys? What's the chances of all three of these guys all being Freemasons? They all met on the same battlefield. And strangely enough, this is the huge coincidence, right? That very battle, at the end of it, the results, remember, it was Napoleon was winning that battle. He was going to batter the Duke of Wellington, guaranteed, through firepower, strength, probably a better general in his decisions and so forth. If it hadn't have been for the Prussians arriving and basically just pissing on Napoleon's matches, basically, the term pissing on the matchstick, like putting the fire out. Along come the Prussians, who actually pissed on Napoleon's matchstick, right? Which allowed the Duke of Wellington to take the credit for the victory and claim England won. So how come the Prussians don't step in and say throughout history or in the schools and that, like, that it was them that won that battle for the English by hammer? They came unexpectedly, and because they always had a run-in with each other, didn't they, right? Napoleon and Blucher, they obviously had something going on between each other, that they didn't like each other and so forth. And there's the Battle of Vittoria, for example, is a famous battle between, France and Prussia, which was, like, so we've got these three Freemasonically influenced sides, right? Three generals of sorts, kicking each other's asses on a battlefield. All the guys on the battlefield are just common folks like you and I, who would have seen posters on the walls in their streets saying, be a man, recruit, be recruited to join the army and fight for your country, for King George, or whatever, right? Obviously in France it'd been the same thing, like, allez, join Francois in battle, help your Emperor Napoleon. He wasn't even French, he was a Corsican, just like Hitler, right? Hitler wasn't even German, Hitler was an Austrian, right? So you just see the pattern. Napoleon himself marched his troops into starvation in like Siberian kind of conditions. Just so happens years later, the pattern, exactly the same pattern, guys, right, with the Second World War. Hitler's the emperor of their side. Ours is we've got the King George the Fifth, isn't it, or King George the Sixth? I can't remember, but you know, same routine. They're all Freemasons again. It doesn't matter. They're all secret societies. They're all Freemasons. But the guys on the battlefield are probably not. You know, the fellas who are like go, you know, stuffing the flipping muskets and that, like, and then go, and then getting a pellet back in there, they go. Meanwhile, the generals now sitting on horses with swords, looking dandy like that, like, you know, so like, yeah, stay out of sight, just out of range, you know what I mean? Laughing their heads off, the guys are all slaughtering each other on the battlefield, in my opinion, right? But this is the crazy thing, man. You see the connection? I'm going to, like, go on to the Hitler thing and in another speech and the swastika stuff and everything. One of me subbers asked me about, like, go into more detail about the information about the swastika and the moon and all those connections, right? Which it will, right? But did you know that Napoleon was nicknamed the werewolf by everyone in them days? For some strange reason, he was nicknamed the werewolf. Very peculiar fact, that, isn't it, guys, right? And here's where it gets quite interesting, right? The Battle of Waterloo was so important in, you know, the family that everyone's talking about these days, the Rothschilds, the Red Shields, you know, that family. Because what they did, they had messengers on the battlefield who were ready to get the message that which side was going to win the Battle of Waterloo. Everyone fought for that final moment, right? France were going to win, or, you know, Napoleon the Corsican, not even a French dude, was going to win that battle. It was like a dead set. He was kicking ass, and he was basically on the march, ready to go, like, this is it, victory, until the Prussians arrived, of course, right? Now, based on the information from a messenger or a kind of what do you call them, you know, those guys that ride on a horse for miles and bring the letter by, because they didn't have mobile phones back then, guys. They didn't have satellite communication and nothing, right? But somehow Rothschild, the first dude who, like, was in charge of our present day Rothschild family, or just so happens to be one of the wealthiest families on earth, right, they received prior knowledge from the battle itself, like literally minutes or hours afterwards, that the English are going to win. But everyone thought that it was all over, and you know, the common knowledge was that Napoleon was about to win, right? And obviously, it was to do with shares and people, you know, the stockbrokers of Europe and the stockbrokers of England and everyone all piling their money in, or either taking it all out on it, depending on this battle, the end result of this battle, which proves that the secret societies were running the whole show in the first place, because at the drop of a hat, the result of that battle made Rothschild the most powerful man in Europe financially to start what he's got. He's got all the bars of gold dug up and everything, and the diamonds, guys, you know, the crown jewels, all that stuff, man, you know, all the precious metals and minerals and things like that, the way they went straight for it, right? But what actually happened is they knew that everyone else thought they'd already sent messages, that, like, you know, their messengers with their information, like Pony Express, that's the term I'm looking for. You know, they used to, in the West they called them Pony Express, and they'd ride for miles, man, and say, oh no, here's a message, like. But the Pony Express of the day, they'd all set off saying, telling everyone that, oh shit, Napoleon is hammering Wellington here, guys. Looks like it's all over. Remember, we've also got Admiral Lord Nelson, who was fighting his battles at sea as well. He was doing things against the odds that were almost impossible, guys, what he was doing at sea. Do you know what I mean? He was like, he's probably the only British person, right, in history who I respect, because he was very humane with his sailors and he was a good guy, apparently. Everyone gives him respect. He wasn't a snob or anything. He was a very down-to-earth dude, right? He was so much respected. His burial was like that of a king, wasn't it, eventually, like. because he was quite a good guy apparently, like, and he certainly knew his business at war, didn't he, with the things he did against the odds, right? Unfortunately, Wellington wasn't quite that, didn't have the same abilities, and was evidently getting hammered on the Battle of Waterloo, right? All his soldiers were all being, all these poor working class men and boys and drummer boys and all that stuff, all getting their heads blown off, like, just so there was like someone was going to benefit, weren't they, in the triangle, like. And it's as though the generals themselves, to them, it's like playing a chess game. They don't really care, right? But this is the really interesting part, right? We all know that Rothschild basically made his wealth because somehow, how the fuck they did it? Sorry about my language, guys, but how they did it? They got that Pony Express guy to realise that while everyone else was sending messages that was like, take your shares out, or your stocks out of this or that because Napoleon's going to win this war, right? All of a sudden, someone gets back to Rothschilds and says, put all your money on everything because Wellington is going to win. Right? Oh, what did they do? Just like... thought that was a grain of rice fell out of my mouth then. But no one knew, right, that, like, Napoleon was going to lose, other than this messenger who got it back to Rothschild. And Rothschild put all his stakes, he kept all his shares going while everyone else backed out. And he just went bang, he became the richest man in Europe immediately because of what he did. So they had an insider obviously keeping an eye on everything, like. And the crazy thing is, right, guys, the Prussians won, right? The Prussians won that battle, basically, for Wellington. They were the reinforcements of the day, weren't they? That day, Prussia was reinforcements. And they came in, and they battered Napoleon from the side. And then Wellington had the chance to recuperate his troops and carry on attacking from the front. And eventually, Napoleon, as Abba said, Napoleon did surrender. And what's dead strange is how come Napoleon didn't get his head blown off, guys? How come he didn't get killed on the battlefield? Why didn't he? Because he's one of them, isn't he? And he's like, in with the no, he's one of them. He's like, nod, wink, wink. He would have done the, I'm a Freemason, and he dies in exile. You know how he actually died? He was poisoned by the arsenic in his wallpaper, apparently. Everyone thought he was being poisoned and that, and it was, the condensation in his room where he was held in exile. And the wallpaper back in them days used to have arsenic to colour it green or something, and it poisoned him, it killed him, like. So he wasn't killed in battle, was he? Do you know what I mean? He wasn't battered. They suspect Hitler was the same. He didn't actually get killed. He was sort of transported somewhere else, you know what I mean? Probably Brazil or Argentina, right? So Napoleon gets fucking transported elsewhere, right? He's not even getting battered like all those men, all those dead bodies on the battlefield, you know what I mean? The Illuminati triangle is like still alive. It just so happens Wellington's still alive. Just so happens Napoleon's still alive. And it just so happens General Blucher of Prussia was still alive, right? But this is the interesting part, right, guys? So there's the triangle, right? That Illuminati triangle, those three generals, somewhere or other, procured it so that, like, Rothschild got rich. And obviously they have a bit of competition amongst themselves, don't they? Like, who, the best man wins kind of thing. Obviously amongst them snobby general guys, they just don't care as long as they don't care about all them poor folks getting their asses battered and their eyes blown out with guns and all that stuff, when as long as there's like their game, their secret society game carries on like a chess match with little pieces on the table. But this is the really interesting part, right, guys? This is how I know that they were all in it together at some point. It's a little known fact, right? Ludwig van Beethoven, the composer, right? Dun, 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 dun. The Beethoven. He was actually, believe it or not, and this is during the Napoleonic sort of wars and conflicts, right? Now, we all call Beethoven a German, right? Everyone agreed we think, he's known as a German composer. But back in them days, in the time of the Napoleonic Wars. It was called Prussia, wasn't it, guys? So really, figuratively speaking, Beethoven, and likewise the composer who followed him in his, filled the hot spot, was Johannes Brahms, right? Johannes Brahms and Beethoven, they weren't Germans, they were Prussians, guys. They were from that era of what we call Prussia, right? And this is the really crazy thing, right? During the Napoleonic conflicts, right, I personally believe that Beethoven himself had a massive influence on the fact that the Prussians got in there somehow and pissed on Napoleon's matches, basically, because this is how I know. You'd think that, like, back in them days, Beethoven would have hated Napoleon Bonaparte because he's on the other side, isn't he? But no, he liked him. You see, he actually liked him because he's a Freemason, isn't he? They were all Freemasons, right? And somehow, Beethoven had so much respect. I don't know if they actually met. I don't know about that. I haven't looked into that yet, like, but I was told by someone I know who's into classical music and everything that Ludwig van Beethoven was actually in the midst, during the time, right, of writing a tribute, a piece of music. I think it was called the Eroica or something, or some kind of symphony dedicated to Napoleon Bonaparte. Now, why wouldn't they be writing a piece of music dedicated to General Blucher, for example, or Blucher, I don't know how they pronounce it, like, or the Duke of Wellington? Either way, all I know is in the triangle itself, he's showing signs of Freemasonry, secret society, keep it together in the little triangle kind of thing. And because you've got to be a Freemason to be a classical composer, guys. There's no way you could live in that world. You could be a musician, you could be an artist and not be a Freemason, but you couldn't be a renowned classical composer of your day without being a Freemason. We all know Mozart was killed by the Freemasons for releasing secrets, right? And anyway, this is the thing. I don't know, you check it out, guys. It's out there, the information or whatever, like. But there's actually a piece of paper, a manuscript of a piece of paper, right, with the piece of music handwritten by Beethoven himself, Ludwig van Beethoven himself, handwriting manuscript of that piece of music that he was dedicating. He was basically kissing the ass of Napoleon musically and dedicating it to him because he admired him or respected his strength or whatever, because he obviously was a good general, wasn't he? You obviously knew his warfare and all that business, but all those poor little men all dying on the battlefield, like, it's like, but I'm not actually attacking Beethoven on this fact. I'm just saying that back in the day when there's no TV and there's no one to inform you of this or that, but Beethoven admired him so much. He's halfway through this piece of work, writing down these musical notes dedicated. I'm going to write a piece. I am going to write a piece of music for Napoleon Bonaparte. Right, which is very unusual to be like the Prussian guys writing about the French guy, isn't it, or the Corsican guy, like, right. And what's weird is the actual piece of paper that's in the museum, wherever it is, he was in the middle of writing it and he suddenly lost respect. All of a sudden, for some unknown reason, he suddenly lost respect for Napoleon Bonaparte. He suddenly hated the man, right? Right? Think about it. Napoleon's winning the battle 1 minute and Duke of Wellington's about to surrender, literally on the verge of surrender. Then all of a sudden, bing, all these Prussians come in and kick Napoleon's ass and make him surrender instead. And at the time, Beethoven just so happens to be, he might have been influencing Napoleon without realising it, do you know what I mean? Like in a kind of spiritual, musical, psychic way, because when you can use music and art to move mountains, basically. The pen is mightier than the sword, yeah. In Beethoven's case, he's not writing Shakespearean plays or things like that, he's writing just a piece of music, And at the points of anger when he realised he hated Napoleon Bonaparte for some reason. You know, you don't just suddenly change, but something made him hate Napoleon. Maybe he saw the paintings of Goya or the pictures Goya painted of Napoleonic soldiers chopping people in half and on trees with hacksaws and things like that, all the cruel stuff. Have you ever seen Goya's work? You know, the painter Goya. It's all about the Napoleonic days. So you can clearly see how cruel Napoleon's men were in them paintings. He was no dandy superhero. He was ruthless, man, you know what I mean? Another interesting fact about Napoleon is, if it wasn't for him, you know, the Sphinx and all that in Egypt, it'd all still be under sand. Or it would have been right up to a modern point. See, they dug all that up. He had all French troops digging up Egypt. The Sphinx was up to there in sand. And then they arrive and it's just suddenly all that work. They found the Rosetta Stone and all that kind of stuff. So they weren't just into war, were they, guys? They were looking into all kinds of things, right? And we know that Howard Carter was funded by one of the Rothschilds, it's the Rothschilds funded that dig. So there we see a link there straight away that, like, the Rothschilds was after the gold in Egypt. They knew King Tutankhamun's tomb was somewhere and things like that. They knew there was gold there, and they had this, like, commissioned. But anyway, the French dig it all up. The English send Howard Carter, or Lord Carnarvon sends Howard Carter to go find the gold of Tutankhamun, right? Do you see where they're all linked, guys? Where they're all joined together? They're not actually opposing each other, are they? But the little man in the street, he's on the battlefield, like, getting knackered, shooting his weapon and getting killed and that, like. The war's designed to, like, for mass blood sacrifice. People die and they get a kick out of this for some reason, the rich guys, like. But at the point when Beethoven got angry and decided he must have hated Napoleon all of a sudden for some reason. I don't know what it was, but I think he probably found out he was an evil bastard, basically, instead of this heroic, you know, champion and that. And the actual manuscript, he got so angry, he was writing it 1 minute with, you know, they'd use a quill, wouldn't he, back in them days? They didn't have a biro and pencils, or it could have been a pencil or a quill. He got so angry, you know, when you're writing and you lose your rag and you go and sort of push things on the table. The manuscript is actually torn and ripped where he's flipped out and he just lost his cool and just went, you know, sort of like, fuck this fucking Napoleon fella, not sticking up for him. And then uncannily, just so happens, the Prussians come in like that. And I don't know if you checked the dates, from when Beethoven was meant to have, like, abandoned his respect for Bonaparte. Probably about the time when the Battle of Waterloo was going on in it. And I wouldn't be surprised, guys, think about it, whoever is the top musician, composer, you know, like Elgar was England's, you know, golden child kind of composer, like, you know what I mean, like Elgar does. Have you noticed they've all got one thing in common? They do anthems and military marches and those kinds of music, you get me? Elgar, you know, the army and the navy and the air force still march to Elgar's music today, guys, you know what I mean? Like, Beethoven would have been likewise to the Prussians, wouldn't he? But there was a friendship between France and Prussia, obviously, right up until certain things began to happen in battles and that, like. And then it looks like, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Beethoven himself wasn't riding along with the Prussians with a sword going, charge! I'm gonna batter that Napoleon now. He told me lies. He told me he was a people's champion and he wanted to help everyone. Right? So, that whole thing, think about it, they're all Freemasons. All of them, all three sides are all Freemasonically controlled. They had to be, didn't they? But the man on the street who's on the battlefield is obviously not welcome, right? The decision of the war makes the Rothschilds rich. The whole thing occurs, I mean, we still have wars with them, don't we? You know, like, well, we still had we had the First World War with the Germans, who's Prussia really, isn't it? Second World War, where it was like Hitler does exactly the Alexandrian syndrome, I call it. You know, Alexander the Great. That's what I call it, that syndrome. Napoleon had it, Julius Caesar had it, Napoleon had it, and so did Hitler. It's the Alexander the Great syndrome, where they think you can just go anywhere you fucking want and kill all the locals and take the land, basically. That's what happened to Alexander the Great, you know. Who was he in with? He was in with the Egyptians, wasn't he, eventually? There was I can't remember who the third side to that triangle was, you know, with the Babylonian thing that was, you know, but Alexander the Great was kind of a bit of a bad guy in a way eventually, wasn't he, you know what I mean? Because he was killing people and taking land, basically. But I think it's really uncanny, like, that Beethoven loved and respected Napoleon so much that he was writing a piece about him. I mean, that's how much he respected him. He was writing a piece of music. And then one minute he's all respect, and the next minute he hates him to the point he violently tears a hole in the manuscript. And it still exists. That piece of music, that piece of paper still exists for proof. It's actual proof that, you know, the guy was... I'm just checking my batch. Oh, yeah, I'm switched on there. Just seeing my laptop was charging there. Like, anyway, that's proof that Beethoven actually respected Napoleon. So how's that possible, guys? There are all these battles going on, and they're all kind of between each other. They're like nod, nod, wink, wink. But us on the ground level, or the common man, there's no television, there's no radio, there's no way of knowing that at the time, is there? There's just little newspapers on the street with whatever they want you to read. It's the same old, isn't it? We today we have newspapers, the news, you know, Sky News, BBC News, they're all blaggers, aren't they? They've all got, you know, whenever something, say in our country, you know, if it's the Queen's birthday or something like that, the newsreaders go, and today is the Queen's birthday today, or whether if it's say like, Prince William and Kate Middleton have had a baby, and the presenters actually go like that on camera. Right, when they're talking about something else, you go, terrorists bombed a hospital in Turkey today. Do you know what I mean? Or if it's anything, even if it's something happy, they sort of just say it in the. As soon as they mention in the royals, they do this like, so like all the viewers go. Just like smiley face routine. So the media, right, are controlled by it as well, obviously, you know, that thing, like. But that's my point, is that, like, just, I don't know, I've got up to 40 odd minutes. I sort of want to wind it up here and then see about how fast I can upload this video, and if the quality works, you know, when I play it back and watch it myself. I have to watch all my vids myself on YouTube to see how the sound is and the quality and that, like. But anyway, I thought that was a really I mean, I don't know what the Duke of Wellington thought of it all, but my bet is that all those generals would have had a big party at the end of that battle, while all the common folks were all in hospitals and, you know, having their legs amputated and their arms amputated and things like that, right? And it just shows, doesn't it, that is my proof. Now, that is the earliest example I can think of, guys, that's provable. You know, provable. I've got the evidence by the knowledge that, you know, Beethoven didn't hate Napoleon from the start. That's proof there's a kind of link between all three of them. They are, like, actually in respect of all one another, aren't they? You know, because they're all Freemasons. They're all, hello, brother, you're welcome to the temple. You know, they're all the same. And have you noticed this, guys? You know, it doesn't matter what country it is in a battlefield, right, in war and that kind of stuff, right? All of them have got a uniform where they have a hat with a badge, and then things on the shoulders, what we call epaulets, and stripes on their arms to say whether they're sergeant or corporal or, you know what I mean, like sergeant major or whatever. How is it, guys, if they're not all linked together, how come all uniforms, you know why they're all different coloured? It's just like when we play a football match, you can't wear the same colour football kit, so that the fans can tell who the different players are, right? And the players can recognise one another when they pass the ball and everything, right? Well, on a battlefield, the only reason the colours are different in the uniforms is because, you know, so you can recognise from a distance which ones. The English guys all had red. Napoleon's men were either in grey or blue. Blucher's men were all in black. All the Prussians dressed in black. So you get it, man. It's all recognition from a distance, isn't it? Or, you know, shooting each other, you know what I mean? If you're shooting, you can be shooting your old man on a battlefield, can't you? Until you realise the coat's a certain colour, like. But you noticed, how come they all wear a silly hat? Or a thing like that on there, you know? Mad things there, epaulets and big boots and everything. You know, the sort of uniforms are all very similar, like as if they got the same tailor, or, you know, seamstresses making the same garb for all three sides, if you know what I mean. It's, you know, but that's proof of the Illuminati triangle. I'm using the word Illuminati loosely. I'll just say secret society, but I bet you £1,000,000 that the Illuminati themselves, who are from Bavaria, remember, I bet you that they had a massive input on that war during that time, or those, you know, those Napoleonic wars. So anyway, I'm going to be going into these things. My next speech, oh, that was just interesting. It's just a sort of example. I don't know if anyone knew any of those facts. Any who's out there, if you give us a shout, say something, say, wow, I didn't know that, Bruce, you know what I mean? Or, you know, I don't know, just let me know that you're out there, guys, watching and still waiting to see any of my videos. Yeah, like I say, I've been very busy recently. I've been camping rough, you know, sort of rough camping in Wales, and just to get some video footage. I've got a lot of footage of the Isle of Man, the TT 2016 to put up when I assemble it, like. And I'm back to my speeches then, you know. And some demos, some music and that, creativity. But yeah, I think I've covered everything there. I think it's just an interesting note that, you know, Beethoven and Napoleon once looked up to one another for some strange reason, you know. And I know Beethoven wasn't a homosexual guy, you know what I mean? He was a proper ladies' man, like, so I don't know what's going on there, guys, you know. And just so happens that Napoleon doesn't get murdered when he surrenders, or he doesn't get decapitated or anything like what Goya recorded his men doing to people, like, you know what I mean? So, interesting note anyway about the Illuminati triangle. And yet my video's recorded, I'd say 47 minutes isn't bad at the moment, is it? Say 50 minutes, just under an hour, guys, you know, and I can get it uploaded as fast as I can because it's straight from the machine. So anyhow, that's just my message, and I've got other examples of that triangle, you know, in all the wars that go on, blood sacrifice in every conflict, like, you know what I mean, today, right? Today, our country is kind of, and America, they're kind of giving Russia a hard time, aren't they, right, guys? Recently, Syria, there was actual warfare. There was planes dropping bombs. British planes, Russian planes, American planes, all joining in the area of Syria, which is, you know, I think, although it's oil rich, or, you know, that kind of hot spot to the Caspian Sea and all that, right? Meanwhile, right, strangely enough, and you know, our television channels in England, our news channels are telling us that Vladimir Putin is the baddest man on earth at the moment compared to, you know, Barack Obama. And Cameron's gone now already, hasn't he, guys? He took a step out, and we've got, like, you know, Theresa May as our Prime Minister now, right? But what are they all doing, guys? What have they got? What have British politics and American politics got in common that Russian politics won't abide? Gay marriage, you know, the gay thing, and educating kids to be gay in the schools and all that kind of stuff. Putin's standing his ground. If you're in the know and you watch, if you can somehow find the real media, like alternative media, Putin's standing his ground on the gay marriage issues and things like that, just morality issues, which I think he's correct, right? But this was peculiar, you know, they're giving him grief. And we know Obama backs gay marriage, we know David Cameron backed gay marriage, Ireland are starting to back it and everything. Like, I just don't care what anyone says, it's against God's will, that, guys, you know what I mean? So which one's on God's side there, if you want my opinion? Like, you know, obviously Putin is more akin to what God wants, isn't he? Depending on, you know, what happens. But the media's telling us, right, there's planes dropping bombs from all the countries, right? Could be anyone, couldn't they, all wearing the same uniform kind of styles and all that business, right? But what I think is really peculiar, right, is meanwhile, Tim Peake, Major Tim Peake, the English astronaut, first man to do a spacewalk, he's not on his own, he's with a Russian and an American. He's in orbit. He's in orbit on the International Space Station. He's come back down now, but 6 months is a long time in space, guys, for your first trip, isn't it? That's something I think is really suspicious, right? And Tim Peake, don't get me wrong, I've got nothing against the guy personally, anything like that. But while he was in space, he had to say, "Happy birthday, Your Majesty. How are you doing?" He was up in orbit during their 90th birthday period, right? Well, he's with a Russian and an American guy. He's with an astronaut and a cosmonaut. Meanwhile, our televisions are telling us they're all kicking each other's shins, or, America and England don't agree with Russia. But you can see that triangle again, can't you? There has to be a conflict. And they've all got to kind of nod and a wink and say, like, well, the public won't know we're all friends still, will they? Do you know what I mean? The public aren't going to suss that out. They're all thick as shit, man. We're daft as a bush, man. We don't know nothing. We wouldn't work that out, would we? That they're all like working together in space. But yeah, on certain political issues and morals and values, they don't see eye to eye. Because they've got to keep the arguments going, haven't they, guys? They've got to keep the blood sacrifices coming in. And then, it's like part of the deal, isn't it? People must die and all that just for the entertainment of those people that seem to like bloodlust. They seem to be into snuff and death and war. All the stuff that Goya recorded visually with his sketchbook and his paintings. That's it. The horrors of war is not a nice thing. It's not like the films, is it, guys, when it's really war? It's not like the films where it's like, you see someone get shot and they just go, and they hit the dead. In the reality, some people get hit by a bullet and then they carry on fighting that, like, and then they get, infection sets in and they might be alive for another 3 or 4 days and that, like, you know what I mean? There's all kind of like horrible things we don't see in the movies. But it's all gory and it's all designed to entertain the rich folks, if you want my opinion. But anyway, I think I've said enough on the Illuminati triangle, or the secret society triangle, or the Freemasonic triangle. That they keep going, they form it in a triangle so that the public don't see the middle, they don't see the common ground, they don't see the meeting place, they don't see the bit where all 3 sides, or 4 sides, or 5 sides in some cases, or 6 sides, or 7 sides, they're linked up together. As long as the Joe Soap, the ordinary man on the street, is on the battlefield getting his head blown off, and blowing other people's heads off in the process, you know what I mean? But anyway, I think I'll wrap it up now, and cheers for watching, guys. I appreciate anyone who's sat through it and put up with my ugly head for nearly an hour, as my time is saying. So now I can't wait to just press the stop button now and see how fast it takes to upload the entire video. And thanks to anyone who's watching. I'm sorry it took a long time to put any speeches up, guys. Got some interesting speeches coming up. If I remember, one's about racialism, stuff I can't abide. When I've got friends and they say things racialist about people, I'm going to put a message up about that to try and prove why they're wrong, why all racialists are absolute Philistines and should get their heads right. Stop calling people names if they're like Chinese or Pakistani or Indian or whatever, like, or Negroes or whatever. They got this, they label everything, like, does me head in, man, But likewise, it's happening the other way from, where, I'm a white honky and that, like, and I don't care, you know what I mean? But the point is, that's one of my speeches that's coming up about racialism and fascism and Nazism included, the Nazi connection, the way they have got that habit of putting that one in there, like. And also the other thing with the swastika setup and the secret base on the black side of the far side of the moon. then they don't want anyone to see. It's what NASA doesn't want anyone to see. Remember, we've got like Tim Peake with a cosmonaut and an astronaut from America and a cosmonaut from Russia, all working together, all flying in a Vostok, all flying in a Russian ship. Do you know what I mean? It's crazy, isn't it, guys? It's crazy. But Joe Public, we're not meant to recognise these facts, right? And especially back in the Napoleonic Wars, guys, no one would have known nothing, would they? Back in the Second World War, it was what are they called? Those movies, Pathé News. That's what kept everyone informed back in the Second World War, guys. Was those little, the cockerel go, cock-a-doodle-doo, Pathé News, and Hitler takes a beating. So all the audiences were spun on by the cinemas. In Germany, they would have had their own version, you know what I mean? And watching these propaganda movies telling them everything. They've had to pay to watch them as well, remember? They'd have gone to the cinemas, paid. It's not like us turning a TV on, like, though we still pay a license if you've got a telly, like, paying to watch the stuff. They're raking money in while still fucking advertising what's going on in the world, in the war and that, like. Big money spinner, guys. Rothschild made a killing, literally. Read all about it. Well, check out the videos about Rothschild and the Battle of Waterloo. How that decision, how he knew that battle was going to end before anybody else. So he put all his shares back in, he kept his money in and everything. Turned into like millions overnight. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I think it's quite an interesting subject matter. I don't know. I think I've tried to be as interesting as I possibly can. Something different, something new on my channel, you know what I mean? Something, I don't know. I don't normally talk about the Illuminati, guys, but they must have been involved, But anyhow, I'll sign off now. It's nearly an hour, so I've put every effort into this speech, to make it a nice long one, because people do appreciate it. Like, some people have asked me to do 3-hour speeches, guys, believe it or not, and I will. If I can work out the recording and, all this business, the sound and the pictures and that, like. And, 5-hour speeches sometimes. Do David Icke, isn't it? Like 9-hour speech. He's sitting there like that, like, pissed off me head, like, I'm when that Illuminati. Well, anyway, guys, thanks for watching anyway. Really appreciate it if anyone's been waiting for one of these things, one of my verbal speeches. And though it's not mind-blowing or, groundbreaking, I don't know. I think it's something new people might not have known. I do appreciate you watching. So, okay, YouTubers, this is Roller Coaster Ride signing off. I'll be working on my videos of Snowdon, which was last week. I was in Wales all last week. And my Isle of Man videos, because that was, I was determined to take a break for summer and enjoy myself and have a bit of fun, which I did. I made some little videos on it, like, which I'm sure you'll enjoy, guys, when I put them together, like, but yeah, just thought I'd get back out with a speech to tell you I'm still here and that, like, brand new laptop and different system to use and all that, like, but, see how this uploads anyway, but yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Roller Coaster Ride signing off, and please press the like button, guys. It's very important. I've noticed a lot of you are watching me vids, but you're not pressing the like button, and it's important that, as far as I know, because it kind of links things up electronically, you get me, like, it keeps us all tuned into one another. You could just watch a video and say, yeah, it was cool, that, and then get off, but put a comment there, guys, and press the like button. You don't have to be complicated or anything when you make a comment. Just say, whoa, cool, or sound, brilliant, or just so I know you're out there, guys, because I've noticed a lot of my friends on YouTube, all the comments are disappearing, strange things are happening, especially if we worship God, if we pray to God or say things about God. We're getting loads of stick, guys, you get me, or talking against royalty and things like that. So, alright, I'm counting down now, I'm on 59 minutes, so I made the hour mark. Yeah, I'm just seeing how the memory works and everything, like. So I'll just have a couple of swigs, just contemplate, like, Bruce drinks Holston. Love it. Love it. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Just gonna let it count. Might as well go to the hour, isn't it? So you know, sit back and sort of peace. But what do you think we decorating, guys? Nice and white, you know. Got rid of that brown wallpaper. I didn't decorate the kitchen, that was already done. Like, anyway, an hour, we made it, an hour. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will be back up soon with some very interesting speeches, guys. Stuff I might get shot for, I don't know.